All right, guys, welcome to the final four of Expert Summit. We are in the second debate. We just had a great one between Chris Colabello and Patrick Jones. We will find out shortly who is advancing to the finals, and we'll find out after this debate which one of those two are going to debate which one of these two. So real quick, I am Kenny Koplov. I am one of the founders of Expert Summit, along with Dan Hennigan, who does all the behind-the-scenes work. You can check my stuff out at Philadelphia Area Baseball. You can check Dan Hennigan's stuff out at Brain and Barrel. We are both primarily on Instagram. HitTrax is sponsoring this event. They just finished the HitTrax Open. So, guys, go check out HitTrax Official on both Twitter and Instagram. Go also check out HitTrax.com. Check out their products. They do amazing stuff with an amazing product and an amazing team. So, real quick, let's run a quick ad by HitTrax that I'm sure you guys are super excited to see because it's amazing. All right. Thank you very much, HitTrax. We are very gracious that you guys are our sponsors, so I really appreciate it. That being said, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We got Casey and Dana who are joining us. Dana has been through since round one. Casey came in round two. Both of them have kind of blown the judges away. So that being said, Casey, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Casey Smith with Out Front Hitting. Been doing this for 12 years full time. Started coaching while I was still playing pro ball. And then as soon as I got done playing, spent a couple years with the Padres, a couple years in indie ball, and then started coaching full time. I told you guys in some of the earlier debates, I love what I do because I don't feel like I have to go to work every day. The greatest thing as a coach is being able to see what you do, allow people to reach, their goals and have success in their careers. And for me, with some of the social media stuff, I think the biggest reward recently has been just being able to share the knowledge that I've been able to acquire, not on my own creation, but just being around a lot of guys that both hitters and coaches, and then being able to share that with people. And I think that's probably the best thing about the social media aspect is, I didn't have access to that information when I was playing, and I wish that I had. And so being able to share that with as many people as possible has been awesome. So.
Great. Thank you. And Dana, go ahead and introduce yourself.
So my name is Dana Levensaler. I'm just outside of Boston here. My deal is the hitting consultants, whatever, website, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. And I've said this every round. I'm going to say it again. I want to thank Kenny and Dan for putting this together. I put a lot of work in blasting out different places over the years to try to put something like this together, and to no avail. So that's that. As far as baseball, I've been playing since I was 5, still play to this day. I did run a facility for years, so I'm familiar with that setting. And I've been studying hitting since I was 12 years old. I don't want to date myself, but that's 30 years plus a little bit. Every book I could get my hand on. And then obviously, as we come into the more recent deals, YouTube and the internet and slow-mo HD videos and all that, coaches, conventions, camps, podcasts. I've read it. I've hit with instructors around the country and all that. I'm a little different than my career kind of professional background outside of baseball is in management, training, and sales. So I've written corporate training handbooks and implemented systems. And as far as sales go, I used to knock on doors when I was 5 years old for my dad. So that'll put hair on your chest pretty quick. So I'm obsessed with hitting. So I've applied some of that stuff that you learn in sales, like psychology and reading body language. When you're knocking on someone's door, you got to read their body language quick. So that's that stuff combined with, my obsession with hitting. And that's basically what I'm up to.
All right. Thank you both very much looking forward to this. This is going to be a good one. So we're going to get right into it. The first question is a little bit different. If you missed the last debate, the first question they were prepared with, They are each going to get 6 minutes. So Casey will speak first for 6 minutes. Dana will speak second for 6 minutes. Then Casey will tell us why Dana's point is incorrect. And then Dana will tell us why Casey's point is incorrect. I'm forcing them to disagree on this one. The other two are going to be traditional expert summit. So that being said, Casey, you got the first question. The question is, what is the vital aspect of your teaching that allows hitters to square the ball up in live games? You can only pick one aspect, make a statement, defend it. You got it, Casey.
Yeah. So obviously it's a big question, but it's a simple answer for me, and it's what I tell my guys every time they walk in the cage, especially the first time. Swing efficiency. It's a simple concept, but that has many avenues to get there. So what swing efficiency means is how long can I get my barrel in the zone, on plane with a pitch, plate coverage, and get it going as fast as possible for as long as possible. That's all that matters. How you get there is what changes, because how every hitter both processes information, processes visual information with how they see the ball, how their body moves, what type of hitter they are. It's all going to be different on how they get there. But that's what I teach is swing efficiency. Now, how I go about getting there is different with every single guy. And so what we have to do as a coach is identify where the problems are. Why is the barrel not in the zone? Is it pushing? Is it dumping early? Is it disconnecting? Is it steep? Is it up? And the only reason that we do this is for a simple concept is room for error. Hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports, period. End of subject. I don't care what anybody says. In order to do that and have success, especially at the highest level, you have to create room for error. And the reason you do is because even when you recognize a pitch, so say a guy's throwing 95, he's not going to throw a fastball 95 every single time. Sometimes it's 95, sometimes 97, sometimes it's 93. Those varying differences in pitch speeds among the same pitch are going to get exposed if your barrel path is inefficient, especially in the front of the zone. So obviously we want to get on plane early, but where we have to be careful is if we get on plane early, but we don't stay through the plane out in front of us as well, we lose barrel depth out front. We lose adjustability on both off speed and fastballs that we're on time with, but we're not because the pitch speeds are different. So everything that I'm trying to do with all of my hitters is try to get their barrel in the zone for as long as physically possible with plate coverage and good direction. If you do that, then you're going to have success. And I've got a video and I want to pull it up. Kenny, if you could pull up the video of DJ. And the reason I use DJ is because he especially last year, he does everything that you're looking for in a hitter today. Okay, so 330 batting average, 29 home runs, 108 RBIs, less than 100 strikeouts. And for me, those are kind of the magic numbers of guys that I look for is can you hit for a high average? All right. And I want you to, Kenny, if you can go back just a little bit, go back to where he gets to at launch. Okay. One of the things that, especially in today's game, I want you to see how high the barrel stays through its turn. Okay. And then you start go back to where he's at right as he gets on plane. So just a little bit farther back. All right. Right. Keep going right there. Okay. So he's matching pitch plane right where the catcher's glove is. So he's essentially able to take the ball out of the catcher's glove. All right. And then the barrel is going to now unload and release on the same path with the same direction to right there. Okay. So if you were to measure, and we did this offseason, if you measure this on the ground, we did it when we were hitting on the hit tracks and we just slowed it down. His barrel is actually covering the plate and on plane for like 6 feet. I mean, it was insane. And that shows up in the games. Okay. You got a guy that leads, or his second Major League Baseball balls put in play over 95 miles an hour, and he doesn't have one of the highest exit velocities, but it's the consistency. It's how long can his barrel stay in the zone. Now, I can tell you right now, the way that we go about creating that with LeMahieu is completely different than how we go about creating it with some of my other pro guys. The thought processes, the feels, the drills are all completely different because it's very hitter specific. So, and I've got another guy that I wanted to show, and I don't know if I wanted to go into this yet. I may want to wait until the next question. So hold off on that, Kenny. I'll pull up that video in a minute. To be very, very direct, one aspect is get the barrel in the zone, on plane, keep it there for a really long time, cover the plate, and get it going really fast. I know that sounds very simple, but that's all it is. How we get there is completely different for each guy. Are there certain aspects that guys are going to do that are similar? Absolutely. But there's more to it than that when it comes to both mental approach, how they feel things, and then how we go about getting there. So that's my thing is swing efficiency to give ourselves the biggest window of opportunity to hit any pitch and any count as hard as possible and do damage as often as possible. And that's when it comes to the result based of it is I want to hit the ball as hard as possible, as often as possible. That's it. I want to make sure that I'm creating true ball flight. So I'm not overspinning balls, side spin, top spin, or backspin, that I'm flushing baseballs. And when I do that, good things happen. Anytime that the barrel path gets exaggerated one way or the other, either steep up or steep down, our windows shrink. We cut baseballs, and we start to lose that window of opportunity. So that's my big thing is creating swing efficiency.
Oh, perfect timing. That was exactly 6 minutes. Danny, you got it.
So am I answering a rebuttal, and how are we doing this? I forgot.
So go ahead. You're going to state your 6 minutes, what you think is the most important.
Yeah. So the most important thing, I mean, if you break it down in just total basic layman terms, is catching the barrel, on the trampoline spot with the fat part of the ball. So that's just a real macro kind of view of that. So what I teach that I believe is, the most important thing is the barrel quicker, sooner. And what that means is, again, kind of a generic statement, is to get guys to wait longer to make a swing decision. And obviously there's all kinds of mechanics behind that answer and drills and that sort of thing. But if we know that catching the barrel is the most important thing, more consistently, how long can I wait to commit? And that scales obviously at different levels. That works at every level. And the way that you do this is not necessarily reps, certainly. So if you think about launch, a lot of the things Casey said is great, but it's how are we coaching or getting these movements? And I mean, swing efficiency, yeah, in the zone for 6 feet, everyone wants that. That's ideal. But the reality is most guys aren't teaching a swing that creates that. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to do a little demo here. So there's obviously different kind of buckets of hitting coaches. There's, the old school guys, there's the data and the new age guys, there's the certain communities on Twitter that they'll all yell at each other. And no one seems to get along and everything else. But certainly for the most part in this debate so far, it's a lot of things that it's, balance, timing, hip, shoulder separation. So let me just show you a short demo here. So if we're going to teach, and the problem with this is a lot of the devices track certain things, but not others. So if I'm going to teach hip, shoulder separation, and how can I emphasize that? Because I want to get a fast barrel. Well, when I do that, so I'm basically just doing this, right? Hip shoulder separation. When I do that, my chest wants to go. Okay. Now, when the barrel follows that, you're going to do damage out front, right? You're not going to be in the zone for 6 feet. So from the front, instead of here, what I teach is this. So here, and what I teach. Now, in a still frame, they look very similar. It looks like I'm turning my hip. I'm not. I'm still engaged in a loaded rear leg. And from this angle, and this is very important here, if I do hip-shoulder separation, watch, I'm a little too high there, but if we do this, you can see how my force is just going to go here, upstairs, compared to if we do what I teach right there, I'm changing the plane of the back of my back while I still have a loaded pulling rear leg. When you achieve, this is very tough to see. If you feel it, it's pretty obvious. It's guys have trouble learning it. Guys have trouble getting it off in game when they first learn it. So, well, some of the more athletic guys don't, but the key important frames are if I do this right here, it doesn't matter where my elbow plays, but right here, that sets me up to wait longer to commit to the ball. And I have all the other mechanics that I need, the depth and all that. And when you coil it and load it, you're going to get a more instant bat speed behind you. So it's kind of funny. This might not be a popular statement, and I don't know who the judges are, but everyone in this debate, everyone agrees hands and arms are the enemy. So props to the 24 dudes in this. But the day will come where we all think the same way about hip-shoulder separation as we do about casting the arms. And you got the guys that teach that think that's a lunatic statement. But the reality is the best hitters don't consistently just do that. There's another thing going on, and that helps clean up the launch. If I can wait longer to launch, and then that also allows me more forgiveness out front. Because look, you're going to get fooled. The day's going to come where you get fooled. Some of these pitchers are nasty. But if we just do hip-shoulder separation, I mean, you can just stand up yourself and feel it. Now you look, some guys do that, and they hit tanks. And they typically have everyone has holes in their swing, but they typically have larger holes in their swing because they have to commit earlier to go. And that's the two kind of concepts that are going on here.
All right, Casey, you got 2 minutes to tell us why Dana is wrong.
So very quickly, quickness does nothing without direction. I can launch as fast as possible. I can launch as quickly as possible. I can have great rearward barrel depth. But if I don't have direction and I don't have the barrel releasing forward to the big part of the field, if I launch and I don't maintain posture and I don't maintain direction, it doesn't matter because now my only point of contact is deep in the zone. And I can tell you right now from personal experience, both as a hitter and with talking with hitters, the one place the hitter does not want to hit the baseball is deep in the zone. We have to have the ability to hit the ball deep in the zone because you're going to get beat. But I don't want that to be the only place that I can hit it because now fastballs blow me up. When fastballs blow me up and I have to feel like I'm rushed to a fastball, right, then now the game speeds up. When the game speeds up, off-speed pitches are more difficult to adjust because we're trying to be too quick to to a fastball. Okay, now, do I want my guys to be able to fire sudden? Do I want them to be able to make a decision late? Absolutely. But how they think about that and how they go about creating that is very different. If your only focus is how quickly can we fire rearward, we have directional problems, we have adjustability problems. And the only reason I can tell you that is because of the experience of working with literally tens of thousands of hitters from Major League All-Stars to 6-year-olds over the last 15 years and watching what happens. Now, I've got certain hitters that we have to go about doing things a little bit differently sometimes because they are a crash forward or something like that. So, but for me, it's because we have to disagree. The biggest thing is quickness doesn't do anything without proper posture, proper direction with the swing. I can swing about 100 miles an hour. I can wait until a fastball is right on top of me. But if I have poor direction, it doesn't matter.
Thank you. Now, Dana, tell us why Casey's points were wrong.
Well, so the direction component is, again, if it's hip shoulder separation, and by the way, the guys from Rebellion agreed with you. Like, can I take an inside pitch, pull it in the air, and keep it fair? Well, you can if you do hip shoulder separation, but your margin of error, you have a very limited window of where you have to catch that ball. And if it's deep, you break wood bats. If it's out front, you might hit it 400 feet, but it's got a big hooking action. So when we talk about adjustability, you certainly don't get that with hip shoulder separation. So again, I go back to efficiency, but how do we get efficient? How do the movements that we coach or cues we tell guys, how are we getting them to be efficient? And hey, I agree with you for sure. I don't want my guys hitting the ball the other way. Money's made to your pull side, but you have to have that loaded ability and look. And as far as direction, I'm not talking about getting stuck on your rear leg or just throwing your arms to right field. But when you talk about direction, if you have no resistance of the forward move, and again, it's not hip shoulder separation resistance, but if we don't have that resistance of a forward move, then your direction is going to be one way, center, left, center-ish. And once they get scouting reports on you, and there's a lot of big leaguers that hit 30, 40 homers a year, and they can't crack 300. Look, they're a better hitter than I'll ever be, obviously, but there's no denying that they have holes in their swing. So when we do the thing that I was showing you, it's not that we're just going to right field from there. I'm not stuck from that position. And that's where the lower half comes in, where that leg pulls. It's still coiled and loaded, but it pulls. And that creates, you can hit the ball wherever you need to in the zone.
Good. Guys, thank you. I know I forced you guys to disagree and pick a side. So I know that's a little uncomfortable, but you guys crush it. Like I said, that's a tough question. We're making you pick something. So thank you very much. Dana, you're going to have this question first. The question is, how do you determine what you are going to work on with a hitter?
So this is it's obviously an in-depth question, but how you answer it is pretty structured. The first thing is obviously what level is the guy at? I don't mean level little league or big leagues. I mean how good of a hitter is, and also have I ever worked with this guy before? So, and again, I do things pretty different. So at first, when I have someone who's brand new, see, I don't do one-off lessons. If it's someone calls me and says, we have a showcase coming up, can we come in for 2 sessions? And I've never seen that guy before, he's not going to get a time with me, because I do swing work first. And it doesn't matter what age you are, 6, pro, like a 60-year-old buddies that hit with me. And the first thing I do, if you're new, we do a swing assessment right away. I video you off the tee and flips, then we go over it. And actually, my first session with most people is free, and I say you don't have to continue to work with me if you don't want. And if they want to give me their initial metrics, that's fine, like what their exit velo is or stuff. I don't really dig into that, but if they want to give me the number, that's fine. And the first thing we're going to work on is movements and mechanics. And people don't want to hear this, but that's the foundation and the right mechanics. So the way I do it is, pretty much I have like sort of the system with guys, and when you're learning it, I give homework. So what that means is we're working on one specific thing. You go, you do the drill or work, and it's with props and all kinds of stuff. When you come back next time, I'm going to quiz you on the homework. And unfortunately, you don't get the next lesson unless you're good at that. And that's just how we learn anything. Now, That's not, a year-long process. But once we have that, if it's a existing client, well, what I work on with him is more, I want input. So game vid, how was that tournament last weekend? What got you out? What are you crushing? So it might be, he might need to work on mechanics, or you just might want to just shut up and hit. What do you have coming up? And what I mean by that is, do you have a tryout or a showcase? Or, I mean, I have some guys will come to me and they'll have high school tryout coming out, and depending what that coach wants will maybe dictate what we work on. And if this guy wants to see, 2 hoppers off the yell screen, I'm going to show the kid the swing is going to be terrible, but he's going to show that coach what that particular coach wants to see. So there's a lot, if it's an existing client, there's a lot of different ways to kind of pick from, well, what are we going to work on? So again, intel, what's getting you out, what's not, what's awesome, what's not. What do you have coming up? Are you facing some high school guys that aren't really throwing, or you're going to baseball heaven and you're going to see some tournament kid throwing BBs? If that stuff's kind of in check, then it's either what I see, we'll do drills, throw, live, whatever. I might see something and I want to work on it. Or some of the guys will have an idea. It's usually the older guys. You get college pro, D1 guys like that. They'll have an idea of what they want to work on. And especially if maybe, if they had an exit interview and their organization's telling them, we want you to work on X, Y, Z, and when we see you next camp. So there's no simple answer to that. You have to pick, where is this dude at? And if he's new, I do it this way. Now, I've done that system in as little as 2 hours or 5 to 10. It's all kind of hinging, like I said earlier, on the player's skill set. So the first thing I do is fix the hands. So and I do these crazy drills that do that, but if we go to flips and this kid's doing this stuff again, then we'll do constraint work. I mean, there's a zillion drills you can do, but so that to answer that question, it depends where the guy's at. Have I ever seen him or not? And if I have seen him, is it an off season? There's a lot of variables. Is it in season, off season? Does he have a tryout coming up? Is he a pro guy that they want him to work on something? So that's where I'm at with that answer.
All right, Casey, you got it.
Yeah, so simple answer. Hitting is a conversation. First thing I do if I've got a professional client that comes in is we have a conversation. We go over video from the season. I talk to him about what his thought processes are, what he feels like he struggles with, what he does well. After having a conversation and figure out, because for me and this is where, I'm a little different. I'm not trying to teach a hitter to hit the way that I think they should. My job as a coach is to conform to within the framework of how they process information and how their body works. Okay. And then, so my job is to give them as much information about themselves to be the best version of themselves as possible. So the way I go about doing it, like I said, we have a conversation and then we turn to video. Okay. And what we'll do, and this is where I wanted to pull up Demetrius's video. So if you could pull up the first video, is Demetrius Sims. He's going to kill me for showing this video because he gets mad at what it used to look like. So this is the beginning of Demetrius. Okay. So drafted by the Marlins out of Bethune-Cookman, freak athlete, 6'4" shortstop. Didn't think he had any power. And so he hit like 220 with like 1 home run the year before we started working. And coming in, it was his thought processes were hands to the ball, hit the ball the other way, the stuff that we've heard from, coaches for a long time. And you see the swing that showed up super pushy, no posture, no direction, everything's across. And there was, a reason he didn't have any power in the games. So where we go about addressing this is, why are those things happening? So first thing is we address the thought processes of what we're trying to do with a baseball. Second, we start to address the mechanics, because if the thought process process isn't there, the mechanics are not going to follow. So then we start to address why those flaws are there and how to fix them mechanically. And you go to the second swing. So first video, exit velocity was mid to upper 90s, 95 to 97. Second video is after the fact for an off season. And you can see the difference in the path. Exit velocity jumped to 106, and he goes out and hits 330 in high A with 9 bombs, and then got hurt towards the end of the year. So the biggest key with this is learning who the hitter is, both physically and mentally. And the big thing for me with my pro guys is these guys have millions of dollars on the line. And so I've got to make sure that everything I'm doing makes them feel comfortable about the direction they're going, because if they don't trust what I'm telling them, it's not going to work. They have to be able to buy in. And so it's my job to make sure I communicate what I'm telling them and how I'm saying it, so that they can apply the information. Now, with younger hitters, when they come in, we always do T-work, flips, and BP before I ever say a word. I'm going to watch what they do. I'm either going to talk to the parent and the player. But then the big thing that I do is really ask a lot of questions about themselves, which for young hitters is sometimes kind of awkward. They're used to coaches dictating, what they're supposed to do versus what does that feel like? What are you thinking about? What do you think just happened? And then I go back to barrel path issues. If the barrel's not in the zone, covering the plate, on playing with a pitch for a long time, you're going to have inefficiencies in the game. You're not going to be able to translate it to a game. And so then we go to why is that happening? Number one, is it a timing problem? A lot of mechanical problems stem from timing issues. All right. And then there's timing issues that stem from mechanical problems. So you have to be able to figure out where the root of the problem is coming from. If it's rooted in timing, a lot of times simply getting a hitter to understand how to start earlier will clean a lot of the mechanics up. If the issue is in the mechanics, they're not able to change their timing because their barrel path is in and out of the zone, and the only time it's covering the plate is deep. And so now they're perpetually late and they don't realize it. And a lot of times you'll see this kind of build on itself because you'll get hitters that hit a pull side ground ball and they think that they were early, when in reality they were late and they had to spin and create a bad barrel path just to make contact. All right. And then their coach is saying, hey, you got to wait on that. You got to wait on that, when actually they're perpetually late. So the best thing for me is to try to get a hitter to understand why they're doing the things that they're doing, what the issue is, and what the results are going to be, and then show them the path of how to get there. And that path is very different for every hitter, especially when you work with high school players who have completely different body types. And then at the professional level, if a hitter comes in and he's had a lot of success, obviously he's at the pro level, he's at the big league level, and you can't show him exactly what's going on and then show him why it's happening and then show him how to fix it, and it be very simple. And this is the thing that with professional hitters is if it's not something that they feel like that they're going to be able to do into a game, they're not going to trust it. And so getting a hitter's trust at the beginning by showing them what's going on with their swing, where the flaws are, why it's happening, and then figure out how to translate that information so that they can understand it and apply it, is critical. So again, for me, I determine it by multiple factors after having a long conversation with them and going over video and looking at data. And the data will really, the data for me, I don't need the data. I can see it. Okay. What data does for me is it accelerates the trust factor. Okay. Instead of a hitter just having to take my word for it and say, hey, this is what you need to do. When I tell them, look, try this, it feels weird, I know, just trust me, and then they see the numbers, then the trust factor goes up. It's not that they don't trust what I'm saying, but when they see that number, they go, okay, I know what I'm doing is right. I know I'm going in the right direction.
Thank you. Dana, you got it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not just you can, especially the parents, you can show the metrics, but for the hitter, it's the feel. Once a dude feels something different, they'll buy in, and I'll have hitters that step out. It's funny. Every hitter is the same in certain aspects, and they'll step out, and before they get in the box, and the wheels are clicking, and what that is how did I hit the ball that hard? I feel like I barely swung, and then of course the next hack is usually not good, because they say, well, now I'm gonna try to swing, and they lose posture, or just the pecs come around like crazy, or for whatever reason. So and little kids will, look, a lot of kids are reluctant to ask questions. So it's real important to see the body. I've been to plenty of camps with a lot of great name coaches, and I can tell that group of 8 kids he's working with has no idea what, but they're real reluctant to stand up and ask a lot of times. When I have a new person, the things that I teach, and people think this is a style, it's not. I coach what all the consistent great hitters over time all do. And there's maybe 12 to 15 things, and I teach that in my guys. Now, once they get these movements, then put whatever, we talked about this in the other debate, most coaches coach styles. If the coach leg lifted and hit bombs, he tells all his guys to leg lift and hit bombs. So that's a style. The must is having a loaded rear leg, not a leg lift, not height stride. So once you have these like pillars of hitting, using the back of your back, doing certain things with your rear leg, a perpendicular hand pivot point instead of bleeding the knob. Once you have all these pillars, then, dude, what style works for you, whether it's a stride or posture or no posture in your stance and flowing into it. But guys can start adding styles as long as they're checking those boxes on the musts.
Thank you, Casey. You get the last say.
Yeah. So again, from a mechanical standpoint, the big things I look for when I start is, I had a coach tell me a long time ago, your first mistake's your worst mistake. So if your launch is off, and Dana's talked about this a little bit, is if your launch is not there, everything else down the chain is going to have a flaw. So if you're trying to fix the flaw that's in the front of the swing, and the issue is actually farther back and earlier in the sequence, you're fighting an uphill battle. So as far as how I go about actually, adjusting the mechanics, is we usually start early in the swing. Because a lot of times if you clean up posture, if you clean up early sequencing, you clean up how they're loading their rear hip, and you clean up timing, and then apply and understand what the approach is going to do to those things. And approach is not just, hey, what pitch am I looking for? Approach is a much more complex aspect of hitting. And a lot of times simply changing your approach will change your mechanics for you, versus trying to change the mechanics themselves. And I've fought this for a long time, where you're trying to get an adjustment, and you realize that by simply changing the thought of the hitter, the adjustment happens on its own, versus I'm going to force it's square peg in a round hole. If I'm trying to pound that square peg into that round hole, I'm going to be in for a lot of work. But if I can find a better solution by simply changing the thought processes and allow the mechanics to happen themselves, that's a much more efficient way that actually translates to a game.
Awesome stuff. That I said it in the last debate, I said it in this one as well. This question, I didn't know how you guys were going to interpret it. And quite honestly, you guys, everybody's interpreted it a little bit different. I like it. And that's a tough question to kind of put you guys on the spot. So we're going to continue on with the last question. Casey, you have this one first. The question is, how do you address handling different locations with a hitter?
Yeah. So number one, you have to be able to pick up pitch location. So you got to be able to see where the ball is. So zone recognition is huge, and I know that's been talked about in some of the other debates. The biggest thing for different pitch locations, up, down, in, out, is posture and shoulder direction. Our launch is always going to be consistent, so our hands should connect and fire. I talk about making sure that we turn high. that we have high connection. And I talk about guys working top down. So if we're working bottom of the zone up, especially the way the game's going today, it becomes very difficult. So because the pitch that's up, if you talk about perceived velocity, the higher it is, the higher the spin rate, the faster the ball seems. So we work top down. And I tell a lot of guys to think about working downhill. It doesn't mean that I'm going down. It doesn't mean I'm swinging down. It just allows them to eliminate multiple directions. If I'm trying to go straight down and up, I start to have issues, and I start to expand my zone, chase pitches that I shouldn't, or take pitches that I should. As far as in and out, posture and shoulder direction. So I've got to have the ability to maintain proper spine angle through my turn, assuming that my hands have connected early in the proper place. How far I turn my shoulders and how much tilt I create are going to be the two determining factors for how I get my barrel to the baseball, because I want to make sure that I can stay connected as long as possible. So I talk to guys all the time about eliminating the arms. We want to make sure that the hands connect, and then I'm taking the back shoulder to the ball. It's that simple. Now, where we get in trouble is if the shoulder direction early in the swing leaks backwards, which will then change the shoulder direction out front. So I talk about maintaining both proper posture and proper tilt. So if we start to tilt rearward to the catcher too early, our direction is going to run out front. And again, what I talked about in that first question was how long can I get the barrel to be in the zone on plane and covering the plate. If that shoulder direction early in the swing is set improperly, then we have no chance for any adjustability, and we're going to run out of barrel. And that's, for my pro guys, that's one of the things that we talk about. I had a conversation with a guy yesterday about it. Running out of barrel out front is one of the biggest detriments to guys, because like I said, we want to feel like we can be early on a fastball. If I'm late on fastballs, I'm going to struggle. And so if we have bad direction, we can't cover the plate. We have to let everything get on us. Now, I'm not talking about going to get the ball. I'm talking about the ability to allow the barrel to release out front, which is where we're going to do damage. The other thing is, as far as training it, is we do a lot of angle stuff. So I go both offset in and offset away, and then we'll challenge in and away from both angles, because what it does is exposes path flaws, and specifically path flaws caused by bad posture. So for me, the biggest key for guys to be able to get to any pitch at any time is making sure that we connect well at launch, making sure that we maintain posture, and then making sure that we have good shoulder direction by either turning far enough to the inside pitch or being able to break and release the outside pitch. So I talked about this in one of the earlier debates. The farther a ball away is, the earlier we're going to extend and the less we're going to turn. The farther in it is, the more we're going to turn and the less we're going to extend. It's just like going down the interstate. My exits to the pitch away are earlier. My exits to the pitch in are later. So I just hold on to my turn and turn tighter, or I slam the brakes on and let everything extend. And I talk about guys literally feeling like they're pulling the ball the other way. What I see so much is hitters have been taught to let the outside pitch travel so far that the only thing they can do is spin off of, and they hit everything the other way with side spin. If you watch the guys that are having success driving balls out of the ballpark the other way right now, the ball is not cut. It's driven that direction. And I've got a video, Kenny, if you want to pull up, of Chavis. I'm pretty sure I sent it to you. How many did I send you of Chavis?
Sorry, I had to get the video up. This just one.
Okay. If you can just get to where he's at, this was a breaking pitch that you can see he adjusts on his front side, and then watch the direction. Watch how his shoulders actually stop. Okay, right there. So the shoulder slam the brakes on so the barrel can unload. If he overspins on that, that's a top spin ground ball to the shortstop. If he maintains good shoulder direction, he's got good plate coverage. That ball went 451 feet over the monster. That was his first home run in the big league. So just an example of what I mean by having good shoulder direction to the pitch location. So pitch that's middle, those shoulders are going to stop, and that barrel is going to unload.
Dana, you got it.
Yeah. So when you talk about different locations, it's funny. Some guys, they might have a location mastered. In other words, they might have a certain quadrant or area that they smoke balls, and obviously you got to can spend just kind of like make sure they're tuned into that and then move on. Some guys will just crush high, and you don't have to worry about that so much. But as far as locations, yeah, height, width, and depth. Those are 3 buckets that we're in. Height. This is the opposite of playing third base. I'm playing the hot corner. I'm low and I come up. Well, hitting's the opposite. We got to be up and work down. We got to address the high ball. This old drill, Carly Yastrzemski used to have guys throwing balls purposely over his head, and then eventually go down the zone and he's hitting rising line drives. So you want to master the high ball, and then when the height changes, we're just going to side bend more, a little more posture, from kind of here. And you'll see, you can see Trout, you'll see videos of Trout, some balls that are down and in, he does an unbelievable job. And he's over like this. For balls, for depth within the zone, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can do vision training. You can work on velo. You can gas a kid up. How good are your takes? What I'll do a lot with depth is I do like EFIS pitch drills. Like I'll pepper a kid and then lob balls, and I really want to push the envelope. How ridiculous can we make his forgiveness in his swing? For width of the zone, there was a study that I think BC did where umps actually called 12% or something of balls outside the zone strikes, and then with 2 strikes it actually went up a bit. It was like 25 or 28%. So people complain about the umps. It doesn't matter what league you're in. So can you handle a ball that's 2 baseballs inside? There's plenty of, you can go on YouTube and see bad ump calls, and they're ringing guys up on balls that are all over the place. So I do drills with like plate and a half and there's all kinds of stuff. I don't want to get into specific drills. So when you're talking about the zone, you first have to master crushing the outside pitch, and specifically low. I have a tee that's I cut it to like maybe 6, 8 inches high, and I'll put that 4 inches off the plate. And can you beat the opposite outfielder with that? Then again, pushing the envelope. What's the opposite extreme? Up under their armpit, way out front. Sometimes I'll get a fungo in their hand and get that up in space on them. And of course, most guys can't do that because they don't have the space to drive that ball. One thing that happens a lot with location is guys will take what I call a gate swing. So, and again, this is guys that do a lot of hip shoulder stuff. This will happen quite a bit. So at if they're loading like crazy like this, and then at some point where these planes match, if those planes match, that's just a gate swing. You're just swinging like a gate. And if you do that, it doesn't matter what you can have good posture. But if you swing like a gate, you're going to have real trouble when you start facing good pitches. So the gate swing is something that, if you catch it out front, you can certainly hit tanks, but how often do you do that? When guys get too steep, Casey talked about losing, pros hate, losing space out front. Well, you'll see certain guys that are teaching this. Well, yeah, I have a Nike swoosh bat path, so my bat path is okay. But I have bat path plane problems. In other words, the swoosh isn't here, the swoosh is here. And you see guys that do this, and that head just collapsed back at the catcher. And then we get sky-high pop-ups. So that is not this. Even though my shoulders did start to tilt, notice the head, this is the correct teaching of a lot of guys that do this on the Twitter universe. And so I call that kind of the fake tilt versus the tilt that you want. And obviously you're going to have all kinds of problems tracking baseballs if your head starts doing this when you're trying to launch the barrel.
Thank you. And Casey, back to you.
Yeah. So the other piece of this is the approach standpoint. So what do I want to hit? Understanding what pitches we handle well, understanding what pitches the pitcher is going to try to get us out with. And then also just a basic approach of how what pitch I'm looking for affects my mechanics. And so, I've got guys that want to look away. They feel like they want to attack the outside part of the plate and then react in. I've also got guys that are the other way around. They look in and react away because the pitch in is what puts pitch pressure on them. So they feel like they'll make a tighter, cleaner move to the ball in, and then they treat off speed or fastballs away like off speed because you've got more room and more time. So being able to understand how your swing works and what pitches you're going to be more successful against is also critical to this, because at the youth level, I expect my guys to be able to cover the zone plus some. Okay. So it's different for different ages. You got a metal bat, especially a drop 5, you're a 12-year-old kid, you're on a 220-foot field. If it's somewhere close, hammer the thing. Okay. So we're looking for, see the ball up, make sure it doesn't bounce, make sure it's not over your head. If you can hit it, smash it. When you go to a professional, you go to a big leaguer, it's completely different. Your zone discipline has to be extremely high, because if you swing at a ball out of the zone at the big league level consistently, you're going to get consistently out. So being able to make sure that you're swinging at strikes and then swinging at your pitches, not just swinging at pitches that are in the strike zone, because there are pitches in the strike zone that those guys throw that you're not going to be successful against depending on what type of hitter you are. So being able to take the pitches by having an approach pregame, and at the youth level, it's, hey, look, man, I'm going to expect a fastball middle away. I'm going to see the thing up and I'm going to nuke it. All right. And I'm going to let the fact that he's throwing 70 and I got a metal bat in my hand allow me to do damage. At the big league level, I'm going to have a detailed scouting report. I'm going to know what his out pitch is. I'm going to know where he's going to try to get me out. And I'm going to go up there with a much more detailed plan on what I'm trying to do to both swing at the pitches I need to and eliminate the pitches that I don't need to swing at, even if they're a strike. So the mechanical side of it, like I said, it's how well can we connect? Can we connect high? Can we maintain posture, maintain shoulder direction? And then from an approach standpoint, knowing what I want to swing at and how that's going to affect my swing mechanically and how it's going to affect my game plan.
Thank you. And Dana, you get the final say in the debate.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a fan back here. It's very similar to teach all quadrants of the zone. You want to have movements like this fan. So when this thing is going, once it's up to speed, we have a 1-speed propeller. So if you swing 80 and that's going 80 on high, we want it 80, 80 here, 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 unless you have to adjust because you get fooled. Now, if you don't have a consistent fan blade, none of this is going to work, none of the next parts. So once we get a more, and I got pictures of Judge and these guys, it's one speed, not on every swing, but at least from there to contact, unless you see something that you have to then adjust for. And then obviously we have the posture issue. This will be, if you're going to be, Trout on some of those balls I was talking about, Trout's like this. Now his fan blade doesn't change. He's just hip hinged more. And your rear leg is that base that pulls and lines up the pitch. So you can actually take, I don't have a tee in here, but if I have a ball away, I can address the ball away. If I do a lot of the same movements and I take a ball, in, like not a strike, in and in. And if I move the same way and I stand up, that pitch is like it's down the middle. And people, unless you see that in a cage and someone demos it, it sounds like that's crazy. You can't do that. But if you have crisp, clean movements, this is how the great guys can take balls way in and pull side and keep. Pros struggle for years sometimes in the minors. How do I keep this ball fair on the inside? Well, that's how, and it's those three of the huge components of how to do that.
All right, guys, thank you so much. That will conclude this debate. Now that's a tough one. You guys had some really good questions with some great answers. I really appreciate both of you guys joining this. Judges, you guys have the voting links in your email. Audience, you also have the voting links. But before we go on, I want to just commend you guys making it this far. A lot of really good minds. You guys really kind of persevered and excellent work. Seriously, this event's tough, and it's unique to talk hitting with words, and we know that. So thank you guys both very much. Real quick, Dana, go ahead and tell us about yourself, kind of plug yourself.
Yeah, the Hitting Consultants, that's the website, Insta, Facebook. I'm Dana. I'm just outside of Boston. I do Zoom and Skype sessions, clinics, although not during this madness, but that's the deal. And I do want to maybe Casey can consult me after this on how to just blow up your Instagram followers, because that's the trick. How did that happen? So, but no, listen, dude, it's awesome talking hitting. I told Kenny last time, I've never blocked anyone on social media for hitting. Twitter, Instagram, nowhere. And my clients will say, "You're crazy. This guy's all over you. You should block him." No, I want the discussion. I want the debate. And most debates don't end logical. They'll just post some funny GIF that has nothing to do with hitting. But so yeah, the Hitting Consultants, and Kenny, thanks for putting this on. Casey, good talking, bud.
Yeah, thank you, man. Casey, tell us about yourself again.
Yeah, it's out front hitting. I'm outside of Birmingham, Alabama now. My family and I just moved down here. I've got a small facility that's actually in Chelsea, Alabama. So it's out front hitting's website and Instagram. And as far as Dana, to answer your question, I don't know how it happened either. I just started putting out
pay for that information.
I just started putting out videos, man. It's literally like there was no intent other than the players I had said, "Bro, you gotta put some of this out there." And I was like, "All right, cool." So for me, it's great because the opportunities that have come from it to help players that I don't have one-on-one, like in-person contact with, is the greatest thing. Like, I don't care how many followers I have, man. The fact that I have that many followers, that means I'm helping more people. That's all I care about. So it's been a lot of fun. Good to talk to you, man, and wish you the best of luck.
Hey, where were you before Alabama?
Detroit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was in Detroit for 4 years, and then I had a facility in Atlanta for 8.
There you have it. So, guys, thank you both so much for joining. I'm going to say this one last thing. This event was designed to give information. And we know we call it a hitting debate, and we know we try and pit people against each other. But at any given day, based on any given questions, one person can be more dominant than the other, can give better answers. That doesn't mean they're the world's best hitting coach. I want to make that clear. This event wasn't designed to crown the social media of all hitting coaches. This event was to get information out in a respectable and a concise manner, and I believe we've done that. I think these two guys are unbelievable examples of that, with not knocking Dana, but Dana always says it, that he's the one that isn't known on social media. He's the least known guy in this. He made it to the Final Four, and he puts together great information all the time. And then you got Casey, who we just talked about his Instagram. He's got a ton of followers, and he's putting out amazing information. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. It matters the information that you guys are putting out. Both of you guys, again and again, are putting out unbelievable info. I cannot thank you both enough for joining. And that being said, I hope to see you guys in the finals. Thank you very much, Casey, Dana. Seriously, awesome stuff.
Thanks, Kenny.
Later, boys.
See you, man.